Today, we're going to be showing you guys some new data that might suggest the Bitcoin price suppression games are over. Now, I know how crazy that sounds because right now, Bitcoin is at $109,000 per coin, which is the exact same price it was 9 months ago. But we've got some really interesting things that Opti and I want to cover today. Firstly, we just saw a new record passed literally hours ago because the corporations with Bitcoin on the balance sheet now hold over 1 million Bitcoin. They are definitively draining the exchanges, and everybody's watching this price and suppression, and everybody's looking at the Bitcoin being bought by their corporations, and they're wondering what is going on. Opti's got a really interesting new theory for you guys today. So Opti, where do you want to start today's show?
Well, I'll start with the chart of the corporations scooping up so much coin. I mean, as we've been seeing, the corporate Bitcoin treasuries have been all the rage, and I think at this point, you can admit like it's a hype for a reason. They are scooping up a lot of Bitcoin, and as I've been saying for a while, I hate saying it this way, but there is a new investor, quote unquote, in the space. And I know we're all wondering like what's going on with the price. We've been hitting on this for a while, and it seems like every time we talk about what is going on with the price, everyone loves it. And so I think this is like a zeitgeist of the psychology going on. You know, someone in the chat said, "I'm tired, boss." And I've been joking with Luke and Nico for a while, saying the same thing. Like, I'm tired, boss. Can we just start pumping already? But we are seeing a crazy amount of accumulation coming out of the corporate treasuries, like 1 million Bitcoin in what? Like, I know Sailor's most of this 600,000 plus coins, but still the amount that of Bitcoin that we've seen scooped up from other companies is like no small feat. And this has really only happened in, let's say, like the last year. And that's not even counting the ETFs that also have 1 million Bitcoin. So that's 2 million gone. Seemingly forever, because they are talking about Bitcoin in this long-term horizon view. They're not so much talking about it as like a short-term kind of trade. So like this number in itself is crazy. Now go to that other chart that you were showing. Oh no, not this one yet. Don't go to this one yet. The HODL wave one, the HODL wave one, which will lead into that chart you just showed. So I again, guys, I'm super colorblind, so it's hard for me to see the like what these times are. But as you can see from this tweet, it's we're seeing this transition moment right now. And this does lead me into what my theory is. But Luke, let's like we're seeing the data showing us there is a a transitory moment that we are living through. And I've been calling it this 2025 year. Like it is going to be one of those defining years where we can timestamp it and be like, yeah, this is the year that things fundamentally change for Bitcoin. Obviously, we're only going to know this in hindsight, but this is the gut feeling that I have right now is like 2025 is going to be that year where we could look back and be, yeah, things change. You know, we have 2020, which is the crash in March that everyone was freaking out about. We had the 2017 highs. We had the 2021 kind of China mining ban, or however you want to frame that. We have the 2024 is the time of the ETFs coming in, and 2025, which is kind of a continuation of that same kind of momentum, is this transition from long-term holders into new entrance into the space. So Luke, let's go to that the whale chart that we have here, because that's really going to kind of lead me into where my conspiracy theories hat comes on. But really it's the data to back up a theory that I've been working on. I'm not alone in this theory, but I've been harping on this theory as well. So Luke, explain this chart for people, and then I'll give it my take on this. And I think this chart does confirm what I've been saying on the show for a while.
Yeah, so this chart in the pink, it's looking at the number of Bitcoin held by whales. So it's looking at whales who hold between 100 and I believe it's 10,000 Bitcoin. And you can see we're down about 25% from the peak that we saw in mid 2021 since the top of that bull run. And a lot of people are looking at this data thinking, hang on a minute, whales are selling. Whales typically sell the tops. Again, a lot of people are looking at this chart and they're saying, uh-oh, we might have topped. This is why all of your on-chain bros are starting to hedge and wedge themselves. They're starting to say, oh, I don't know if this is the top, but there's some data suggesting that maybe it is. I personally don't think that's the case, but Opti, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think this rotation from the big whales means for Bitcoin, and why are the biggest holders selling?
Yeah, well, first of all, I will double down on that with you. I don't think this is the top. It just makes no sense to me. But okay, go to that other chart, the one with the pink on it. I thought it was a red chart, but you know, it is what it is. Okay, now expand it so people could look at it a little clearer. Hit the top arrows.
We'll get it as big as possible.
Yeah, let's try to get it as big as possible. There we go. And maybe zoom in a little bit. So when I was looking at this, obviously the news in itself is interesting. The supply held by whales with, I believe the number was what, 100 coin to 10,000 coin addresses is at a 7-year low. So that number in itself is interesting. That whole idea is very interesting just in and of itself, just that data point by itself. And a lot of people have been talking about on Twitter this idea, and some of it comes from shitcoiners as well, or people that are probably short Bitcoin and long everything else. And there's this kind of idea right now that long-term holders of Bitcoin, maybe more libertarian, freedom-minded individuals, are losing hope in Bitcoin because of the new corporate treasury push or nation states getting into Bitcoin. And maybe there's some credence to this idea. I obviously, I don't have whale friends here. I don't have friends that hold 10,000 coins plus, but from what we're hearing, people are saying they are losing, maybe they're losing their confidence in what Bitcoin is going to do in the future. And we've been talking about that on the show here as well. This idea of like, are we being psyoped, or is this what winning feels like? We've been underdogs for so long that now when we're being embraced, it does make us feel a little iffy. So that could be just, you know, one of the ideas here of, hey, people are kind of losing faith in the freedom aspects of Bitcoin. And there's a lot of debates going on. One, the Bitcoin core, not debate going on. Is Bitcoin being psyop? This is an old debate we've seen since 2017. Maybe people are seeing the new push from corporations and institutions, of the Larry Finks of the world, the Jamie Dimons of the world come into Bitcoin, and they think this is not what I got into. Yeah, there we go, Peter Thiel. Yeah, well, I'm not going to put my thoughts out here on Peter Thiel per se, but or the ETFs coming in. Did the ETFs neuter Bitcoin? That could be one of the framing here. The other framing is sort of what we'll get into later. I don't know if you have that Max Kaiser tweet, but like 100K was the OGs, the early Bitcoiners moonshot number. If we ever get to 100K, that's their number where I'm going to take some profits. Yes, we all know fiat money is trash. Why would you take profits into fiat? Bitcoin is the profits, et cetera, et cetera. I see all that. I live all those memes. I believe all of that. But what I think is kind of happening here, or the other one, a lot of these whales maybe are funneling their holdings into these Bitcoin treasury companies, and this is why we're seeing a lot of selling on the exchanges in like 20K plus tranches. I don't know. These are all up for debate right now, but go back to the pink chart, because it does, I think, explain a theory that I've been saying on the show for a little bit. Pull it back up so people can see it. I've been kind of saying, and I kind of mentioned it in the beginning, it does feel that ever since the ETFs launch, ever since we've got Trump embracing Bitcoin, Larry Fink embracing Bitcoin, there is a new investor, quote unquote investor. There is a new market participant in Bitcoin. And when I saw this chart, I wasn't so much angled in this idea of like, oh, whales are selling out. What I kind of notice here is, all right, so zooming in here, you don't have to zoom in, but if you look at this chart, we have the pink, which is the whale addresses, their supply per whale holding. You can see it's went up until 2021. I think this starts at 2020. And now we're at a 7-year low. We haven't been here in a long time. And so, but what I noticed here is, less centralization is definitely good. What I've noticed here, and again, this is my theory. I could be completely wrong here, but this does confirm what I've been saying on the show. What my buddy Mitchell Hoddle's been saying is that the halving cycles are different now. Ever since the ETF has been launched, the game has fundamentally shifted. So when I look at this chart, what I see is you see the pink, start to get accumulated by whales, and the price kind of follows exactly that movement. As the price starts running up, yes, in the beginning it's kind of flat, and then it dumps, and then the whales start accumulating again, and then the Bitcoin price continues to go up until 2021. And then as the whales start selling Bitcoin, of course, the price starts dumping. But what is interesting here is if you look at this date here where the price and the supply per whale starts to divert here is around that January 2024 time frame, which is literally when the ETFs launch. And so if this first half of the chart was kind of following the historical kind of makeup here, you would think that as the price as the whales start selling Bitcoin, that the price would go down. But you're seeing that there's a divergence here in the chart, which leads me to believe that, yes, in fact, the data is showing us that since the ETF have come into, or rather been launched, and everyone is piling into these ETFs, since the Bitcoin corporate treasury companies are acquiring as much Bitcoin as they have, million plus, and we're seeing nation states secretly buying Bitcoin, at least that's the rumors and the speculation, you'd expect that the Bitcoin price would go down if the whales were selling as much coin as they are, though we've been holding above 100K for over 100 days here. So there is a divergence going on here. Now, a lot of us Bitcoiners have been talking about, is the halving cycle still intact? That's the big question here. That's the what's the market cap? $2.21 trillion question right now. Is the halving cycle still intact? But I've been seeing, and I've been kind of covering this on the show, we're seeing a lot of conversations right now that since sovereign wealth funds, since nation states, since corporate treasuries, since ETFs have all been launched, or rather have this appetite for Bitcoin, we have this like infinite bid on the Bitcoin bottom. We have an infinite bid on the Bitcoin price. And this is changing the dynamics here. And so I said the last couple of weeks, it does feel like this is the last, dying grasp of whales really controlling the price. And now, since institutions are here, for better or worse, it does seem like they are the ones in control of the price. Now, what is this going to mean long term? Who knows? Are they going to panic if we see a 50, 60% drawdown? Probably, but you're looking at this chart, or rather, when I look at this chart, I'm seeing that since the ETFs launch, we are seeing a completely different market dynamic, because we all know the whales, for historically the lifetime of Bitcoin, have been the ones in control. And now there's literally no retail in the market. The volume is dead from retail. The Google trends are dead from retail. And you could say maybe it's because they're searching about ChatGPT, how to get Bitcoin. But you're seeing that if the whales were dumping this much coin as they are, I think in the last week or two, Luke, last month, they've jumped like 150,000 coins. Yeah. Someone is buying this. With every seller, there's a buyer. And you would expect, if they're dumping this much coin, that the price would also drop. And now we're seeing this isn't a double top. This is literally a transition from the old guard to the new guard. This is a transition from the OG whales that hit their number, 100K. It's getting distributed into the network. And as of now, the institutions are eating all of our lunch, because they basically have free money here. They're taking out sailor loans. They're able to buy Bitcoin with like literally 0% loans, which is unheard of. Well, I think sailors like 0.2% loans or something, just like something none of us have any capacity of getting. So anyways, I saw that chart, and it really confirmed my bias that I think we are seeing a fundamental shift in the market structure ever since the ETFs have launched, ever since we saw this corporate Bitcoin FOMO, nation state FOMO. Things are changing, and it is going to be very interesting to see what happens Q4, especially, you know, interest rates are right around the corner, supposedly. It looks like we're going to be in a bullish Q4. So I mean, I'm still on the idea that we're going to pump, but you're starting to see that there is a hodl transition going on from OG whales that probably still have huge stacks. I doubt they're selling all of their Bitcoin, and going into these corporate plays, whether it's ETFs, whether it's the corporate Bitcoin treasury plays, or whether it's the just straight up acquiring of Bitcoin from these institutions and big players in the space. Things are changing, and now it's like confirming what I've been saying, because I have a data point. Whether I'm wrong or not, I think I have data to back up my theory now. It's no longer just a gut vibe. So that's kind of my, I don't know, tinfoil hat take on this. I think the data is confirming what we're seeing, that I don't know if the halving cycle is dead, but the new entrants in Bitcoin are fundamentally shifting the market price structure. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out.
I agree. I've got a lot of responses and questions for you, Opti, but I think the first one, does that mean you don't believe in the power law?
I mean, I've never really been the biggest fan of power law. I believe in power laws. I know they're a part of nature. But I don't know about power law on price. It's hard to predict. Like, I think the power law will break to the upside, because when I look at the power law, and then you guys again can correct me if I'm wrong here, what the power law to me seems to suggest is that we will see a kind of continued slow trickle of adoption. And I think a black swan scenario could fundamentally shift the power law in a more bullish scenario. Like, if people really quickly lose trust in these institutions, then I think the power law will break to the upside. So it's hard for me to believe that humans are that easily mathematically, algorithmically kind of tracked and bagged. But what do I know? You know, I have a 42 IQ. Math's not my strong suit.
All right, I'll wait until a little bit later on in the show until I put you on the spot again. What I want to look at here is I want to take a look at something you said. ETF flows right now are outnumbering the new amount of Bitcoin that's coming onto the network. We can see in 2025, this is a little bit of an older chart, but I like it because visually it's showing you that ETFs alone are buying 3 times the new supply of Bitcoin. Again, each year there's about 160,000 Bitcoin mined. And Opti and I, we were showing you the charts looking at the fact that right now, public companies with Bitcoin on the treasury, they have bought 1 million coins collectively. But look what they've done in the past year alone. So we're in Q3 2025. If you look at Q3 2024, we're at 360,000 Bitcoin. So in a year, just the corporations like Strategy, MetaPlanet, 21, and all of the 120 odd new public companies with Bitcoin on the balance sheet, they have bought around, 640,000 Bitcoin in a year. Again, 160,000 Bitcoin is mined a year. So just the public companies with Bitcoin on the balance sheet have 4x'd the amount of Bitcoin that's mined every year, and it's coming onto the network. And this is why I think we continue to see charts like this. Bitcoin is leaving the exchanges. I think if this trend continues, eventually we're going to get into a world where there's 0 Bitcoin on the exchanges. It's going to happen. Yes, there's always going to be a seller of Bitcoin, but I think the buyer on the other side of that transaction is going to dwarf the seller. And I just think that this will, to your point, Opti, to the gotcha question I posed to you, I think this is also going to break the power law to the upside, because I think all of these old metrics, they're based on old data. They're imagining and they're assuming that the Bitcoin supply and demand dynamic is the same today in 2025 as it was before 2020. And that's just not true. Like pre-2020 for 12 years, we only saw the number of Bitcoin on exchanges rise. It was 0 in the early days, and it rose to like 3.2 million in 2020. Since then, we've seen a complete trend change. For 5 years, we've seen Bitcoin leave the exchanges. We've seen 35% leave the spot exchanges and about 80% leave the OTC desks. And what was the demand side of the equation looking like pre-2020? No institutions, no public companies buying Bitcoin, no nation states, no pension funds, no Harvard universities like we saw last week, Opti. And now they're all buying Bitcoin and FOMOing into buying Bitcoin. And they're not just trading it for a Lambo like the dominant market participant was doing in 2017. Again, who was buying Bitcoin in 2017 and what was the narrative? It was retail smash buying Bitcoin, but they were just buying Bitcoin for a 6-month trade and then they were going to sell it at the top for a Lambo. Now it's completely different. No longer are the dominant market participants smash buying Bitcoin. We have the big boys methodically, dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin on every dip, but these guys are also holding for the long term. Sure, there might be a couple of public companies who fumble the ball and they sell Bitcoin early, like Tesla, for example. But I think the majority of them, like we continue to show you on this chart, Bitcoin treasuries.net, the majority of these guys, more than 90% of the public companies putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet, they're buying and they're holding and they're not selling. And a lot of these guys are following in the footsteps of MicroStrategy and they're pledging and promising to hold on to Bitcoin for decades. So again, I think to your point, Opti, I think we're in a sea change. I actually didn't even notice the chart that has the pink/red little graphic on it. That diverged, to your point, in the beginning of 2024. That's a really keen observation. And I typically agree. I think the big boys right now are dominating the market and we are living through this transition.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think, and you guys know how I usually do this. I have a gut feeling. I'm very, very honest about confirming my biases here. You know, I only trust the experts if their science confirms my bias, just like everyone else. So we've all been on the show. It's been 9 months. You know what? Go back to the initial Bitcoin chart. It's been since December 2024. It's September 4th here. So it's been 10 months, almost 10 months, 9-ish months. And we haven't done anything. And we've been coming on the show and everyone's wondering, you know, everyone's doing the YouTube searches like, what's going on with the price? Like, what's going on with the price? Aren't we supposed to be ripping right now? Didn't we get promised 150K like yesterday? What is going on? And it's like this idea where we all are, if you've been in the cycles in Bitcoin for a long time, you kind of understand how this stuff works. And the psychology going on right now is everyone's kind of wondering what is going on. And I think this is why we're seeing Bitcoiners fight themselves, you know, eat each other up on Twitter over whatever's the new flavor of the month, because that's usually what happens when we get bored of price action. You start attacking each other. That's just what happens historically. And the more people attack each other, the more we're all wondering what is going on. Are we double topping? Are the halving cycles over? It just makes me think like things are changing. And until we get the data to really confirm what is going on in the market, you're kind of just sitting here wondering like, okay, things have changed. Things are changing as we speak. There are new entrants in Bitcoin. They're coming from a space that we used to say was coming, and now they're here. I don't think that domino's fully fallen. I think the data is showing us that about like 1% of global asset managers have allocated to Bitcoin, and I think their allocation percentage is like 3%. So essentially like 99% of the capital hasn't even hit Bitcoin yet. And we're already seeing a change in the market structure, which kind of goes back to what I was saying. I think the power law is going to break to the upside. Like what's the meme? All your models are broken and all your models are broken to the upside. I think we are very, very under bullish here in regards to what is happening. And I'm sure Luke and I will get we'll be overly bullish by the end of the show. But yeah, things are changing and we're trying to quantify what is that change? Where is it coming from? What is going on in the market so that we can have better information? Because of course, obviously we don't trade Bitcoin, but you like to know what is going on in the markets. You like to know what's going on with the price. You really want to know, do I have to brace myself for another 2-year bear market? Or is this the whales trying to shake us out? Whether that's institutional, whether that's Wall Street trying to shake us out of our position, or whether that's the OG whales trying to shake us out of our position, you really want to have the data to understand what is the signal here, where is this going, how much money should I be putting into this, how much money do I need for rent and to survive so I can withstand another bear market. Like, these are the conversations and thoughts that we are probably all happening right now. But the more people search for this idea of price suppression, is there price suppression? Is there paper Bitcoin summer ever going to end? It starts to make you wonder. Things are changing because people are asking these questions. And I think that chart is proving this theory that if since 2024, the ETF launch, things have changed. Now, is that going to be for the better or for the worse? We really won't know. Only hindsight will tell us if this is a bad thing, if they can actually control the Bitcoin price. Are we still small enough that they do have overt influence over the price? And then at what price point do they lose control? So we saw now, hey, the silver lining here is 100K. If this continues as we're seeing and whales keep dumping Bitcoin, but the price keeps going up, we have a data point. 100K was that price point that the OG whales no longer control the price. Now, what's going to be the price point that Wall Street and institutions can't really manipulate the price? I'd say maybe a 10x from here, maybe $1 million per coin is when they basically won't be able to move the market, and then we'll see an influx of new capital coming in. So it could be a long time from now, but hey, we have some data points here showing 100K was that kind of mega price point. That was the OG moon, and now new entrants are coming in. They're scooping up that Bitcoin, and I'm guessing $1 million is going to be the new moon for most people here. So it's interesting data. And again, I could be totally wrong, but that's what I saw, and that's what I was thinking when I was looking at that chart. It's like we are seeing a divergence here, and I think that's a bullish indicator.
I think it's super interesting. And I think, again, when we zoom out, there probably will be a point on the Bitcoin price chart where maybe the sellers, let's not say disappear, because again, there will always be a seller of Bitcoin. I'm never denying that. But I think there will be a period here where the buyers are going to be absolutely dwarfing the sellers on the other side of the transaction. I think that's when we start to go exponential. This is my favorite model. Again, I think all models are wrong, all models are broken, but I think the stock to FOMO is probably the most, let's call it, directionally correct model for Bitcoin. I think it kind of accurately models what happens when a new money is adopted by the world. And that's what I think we're living through right now. Many Bitcoiners have said it. Everybody's wondering, when is hyper-Bitcoinization? Now is hyper-Bitcoinization. We're living through hyper-Bitcoinization. We're just early on that adoption curve. And I think, what you were telling me this morning, Opti, one of your favorite tweets, the next 16 years of Bitcoin will be more bullish than the previous 16 years of Bitcoin. I'm 100%. I co-signed that message.
Yeah, and it wasn't one of my favorite tweets. It was the people's favorite tweets, because I was like, I was trolling. I'm like, look, when I actually try to think, boy, and provide value on Twitter, my tweets don't do numbers, but when I just shit post, they do some numbers, and that was a shit post. But I actually believe it. I think the next 16 years in Bitcoin are going to be even more bullish than the last 16 years, and it's literally because of this chart. I believe in the S-curve adoption of Bitcoin in the sense that it is technology and it is money. And, money wants to be the number one apex predator out there. And so I think we are highly underestimating how quickly people will drop fiat at some point. I don't know what that point is, but there will be a point where they're just trusted institutions happens overnight, essentially, whether that's a Weimar Republic hyperinflationary scenario is a totally different conversation. Maybe it's just people have had enough of the lies. I don't know what that last straw will be, but I do think the next 16 years are going to be even more bullish. And I mean that by price returns. I mean that by gains here, not this diminishing returns meme. I think the next 16 years, I don't know if we can do another 1.5 million% return or whatever Bitcoin had from literally nothing to 100K. But I do think the next 16 years is going to be even more bullish.
Me too. I think we're going to be talking about numbers probably bigger than $1 million later on in the show, Opti, but I want to rein myself in here because we do have a little bit more to talk about.
Yeah. Wait, in this segment or keep it moving? Keep it moving, and then we'll get bullish. Okay.
We'll get bullish in a moment.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we're going to... Okay. On that note, guys, I do want to remind you guys to, of course, smash the like button, comment on the show. What do you think about the show? And, of course, hit the sub. Hit the subscriber button because we're dropping the best content here, period. We're dropping the most and the best, maybe besides Luke's channel. Luke's been killing it over there. But anyways, also, if you want to buy Bitcoin, you want to make sure you're buying Bitcoin correctly. And hey, I'm not here to cast judgment on it, but we think Bitcoin Well does it the best. You literally need a Bitcoin wallet to buy Bitcoin. Once your fiat goes through, it goes directly to your cold storage. They have never lost Bitcoin, and they will never lose your Bitcoin. And there's no possibility of ever losing that Bitcoin because they never hold that Bitcoin. And that's why we love Bitcoin Well. So go to bitcoinwell.com/simplybtc or scan the QR code here. And if you scan the QR code, you are going to get 3 chances to win 1 million sats. And I will do the Bitcoin Well wishing well at the end of the show. So I will be giving out free Bitcoin at the end of the show. But if you are on the sidelines and you're like, this kid with a funny haircut and a funny accent and this other guy that has his own funny accent, they're making a lot of sense here. I need to get my fiat out of the traditional financial system as quickly as possible. I need to smash by $50,000 of Bitcoin right now. Get in touch with the Bitcoin Infinite Well team, and they will give you white glove service. Make sure that if this is the first time you're buying into Bitcoin, that you store this Bitcoin for the long term. This is generational wealth. After all, you need to take this Bitcoin custody thing seriously because we are here for the long run and you do not want to wreck yourself. All right, guys, I got a good show. So Dr. Jeff Ross came back and he's kind of saying what Luke and I are saying, that hey, there is a lot of economic turmoil right now, economic uncertainty, but once we get through that little, dark night, it's going to rip. And I couldn't agree more. And then I'm glad you brought up the S-curve adoption chart here, Luke, because BTC Archive dropped an interesting chart here about the adoption of Bitcoin and where it is historically against other adoptions of technology. And it's getting bullish here. And I think Luke and I are going to do some FUD stuff. We'll get bullish and some FUD buster episodes at the end of this show. So on that note, let's get into the rest of it.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
Yo, chat. Y'all killing me right now. Chat, You know, it wouldn't be the same without you guys. Love you guys. Anyways, let's look at Clark Moody's dashboard. I nuked all the other stuff here, so I'm just giving you the meat and potatoes. Here is the current Bitcoin price is $109,780. I think I want to do a little. Where's my fail? Do I have it right here? No, I don't have it. Anyways, $109,780 per Bitcoin, guys. It's over. We had a good run. We're currently at a block height of 913,185, and the current market cap is barely hanging on to 2 trillion, 2.19 trillion, a decline from all-time high of negative 11.8%. It's not even negative 12%, and everyone thinks it's over. I absolutely love it. I love when we see blood on the streets, Luke. Makes me feel alive again. Hey, if we're not going to get Bitcoin pumps, at least we can still rest our hat on the fact we're going to get Bitcoin dumps. So got to feel alive somehow. Anyways, I saw this clip. Dr. Jeff Ross. I haven't really been hearing much from Dr. Jeff Ross recently. But again, I'm confirming my bias here. What he says, it's exactly what I've been thinking, exactly what I've been saying. So I like when, you know, people that have a doctor prefix in front of their name say what I say. It makes me feel better about myself and that I'm actually smarter than 42 IQ. So let's hear what Dr. Jeff Ross has to say. Let's get an update from Dr. Jeff Ross.
$140,000 right now. It should be well above that based on the liquidity metrics I follow. Very surprised that it's not there, but I think again it's being held on by the economy. I think once the most market participants believe that the U.S. economy is finally starting to surge, I think the price of Bitcoin will skyrocket at that point. So that's just my personal take, is it's going to make up for lost time. It leaves me very bullish with where we are. Like I said earlier, for the next 6 months or so, I'm actually very bullish. If you would have asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said we'd almost be at the peak of this business cycle, but we haven't even started yet. And so there's a chance we either have this massive surge higher in a short amount of time in Q4, and we still maintain these 4-year cycles, or more likely what it's looking like to me is the cycle extends into the first half of 2026 somewhere, which to me would mean the Bitcoin peak would probably extend and happen somewhere in the first half of 2026. One other thing I want to bring up is, because everybody knows that global M2 and liquidity lead the price of Bitcoin, something that I've noticed, however, is that at cycle peaks of Bitcoin price, the price of Bitcoin actually leads those other factors. So I would caution people to be very careful. What I've noticed from past cycles is that even though global M2 is still rising and kind of looking toppy, like the rate of change is starting to slow down a little bit, even though the economy is revved up and PMIs are sitting around 60 or so, and everybody is super bullish, that's usually about the time Bitcoin peaks.
Sheesh. So, hey, a lot of things to unpack there. One is I just love some hopium, on a Thursday morning. 6 more months of pumping. I'm so with this. This sounds great. What do you got here? What's that chart?
Just hiding a couple of things from you, Opti.
Okay. 6 more months of pumping. Please, mi familia, can we get some pumping back into the market? But I also was thinking, and I didn't have this thought when I watched this morning, but I was having a conversation with a friend. Actually, it was with Oceans, and you guys know Oceans, Beyond Bitcoin. He's one of our content creators, and I was kind of explaining to him that every one of our content creators kind of has their own interest in their messaging of what they like. Like Nico, for better or worse, he loves politics. Rustin is just our in-house lunatic, the stupidly bullish lunatic. Freedom Maxi, love him. Dante loves sports, but he's also really into kind of finances and institutions. That's kind of his foray. Sophie's still kind of learning, but she's a mother, so she's coming from that motherly kind of view. My view is just like, I'm just the court jester, stupidly bullish the whole time. But recently, as you guys have noticed, I have been getting more into kind of macro and geopolitics, because I think we are in an economic war. And so that's what's interesting me the most. And what Dr. Jeff Ross just kind of said in the beginning is one of the things that that I've also latched onto in the last couple of weeks is like, there is a lot of economic uncertainty right now. There is a lot going on, especially from the Trump administration, that does have downstream effects to every other nation. And so what's happening right now in the US, they are making plays. They are trying to kind of rein in inflation. We don't know whether they're going to cut interest rates or not. What's this going to do for global asset, or rather M2 liquidity globally, but not just globally in the US as well? So there's a lot of things going on right now. And as we're seeing, gold's pumping, which basically means, hey, people are not really feeling safe in treasuries and they're going to the safe haven asset, which is gold historically. So like there is economic uncertainty. And one of the things about money is you hoard money, you know, whether you're a cash maxi, whether you're a Bitcoin maxi, whether you're a gold maxi, you hold money or hoard money when there is times of uncertainty. And what we're seeing is that hoarding is increasing right now. So people are trying to protect themselves. And then once they figure out what's going on, once the dust settles, is when they start to deploy their assets, their capital. And this is what we're seeing right now. So until we kind of get some more information of what's going on, a lot of people are just going to kind of be sitting on their hands because they don't know exactly what to do with their money yet. They're still kind of afraid of what's going to happen in the markets. But I think in about 11 days, once we figure out what the Fed does, if they cut rates, I think we're going to see capital being deployed like never before. And I think a lot of that capital will find its way into Bitcoin. So I'm also in this idea the next 6 months. I told one of my friends the other day, I think Q4 is going to be super bullish. And I'm thinking it's probably going to go into, at the very least, Q1 of 2026. And then, hey, if Jerome Powell leaves, Q2 of 2026, the money printer is going to go insane. So I tend to agree with this idea that the Bitcoin cycles are elongated now. They're longer than ever before. We have data to show that this is the longest bear market on metric here. We haven't had a blow off top, or rather the longest point from a decline to a blow off top that we've seen historically. So the cycles are, or rather maybe the price structure is elongating here. So I don't know, man. I'm starting to feel that 2026 might not be a devastating bear market. That's what I'm hoping, guys. The last bear market was brutal. Going all in on Bitcoin and Bitcoin content as my job. It was a brutal bear market for me personally, but hey, we survived. We're going to survive the next one. Stay humble, stack sats, stay solvent. This is the way. So Opti is your macro advisor. Lol. No, guys, look, hold on. Let me full screen myself here. Do not allocate life-changing money based on my signals here. This is what I'm doing. Okay. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a CPA. This is entertainment. Okay. This is
nothing more, nothing less. If we want to get a little bit more entertainment into the show, Opti, this is what I was hiding from you a minute ago, because this is kind of what Jeff Ross was talking about in that little clip we just played for you guys. Bitcoin and global liquidity. Now, I also agree that these kind of 4-year cycles of liquidity look as if they're expanding a little bit. You can see in the blue, I'm going to take the pink line off this chart. So we've just got the Bitcoin price in white. And then in the blue, you can see that when we see these big, massive expansions in the global liquidity, that correlates really nicely with Bitcoin peaks. Now, again, I think we're just kind of warming up here. You can see there's no real big peak in this global liquidity cycle. So I think, yes, we're trending up, but if you just look at the past, this is 11 years worth of data here. So this isn't any cherry pick chart. You can kind of see before you see these big, massive peaks and expansions in global liquidity that look to last somewhere around 6 months, you kind of see it warming up. And that's kind of what the chart looks like to me. We're kind of warming up. We've got rumors and talk of Jerome Powell lowering interest rates soon. If Trump fires Powell in the next 6 months when his term's up, imagine what global liquidity is going to do if interest rates are jacked down from like 4 to 5% to 1%. I think liquidity is going to rip, and that all kind of that 6 to 9 month timeline that we might see global liquidity increase if history repeats, that kind of suggests Bitcoin has a good, what, 6, 7, 8, 9 months left in it. So I wouldn't be expecting a peak until what, Q2 2026 if cycles hold true and if history repeats itself. Again, my kind of base case is we break the cycles this bull run and we're even more I think we see less large 2-year bear markets where the price goes down like 85%. But even if you think that is true, and even if I am wrong, which is a good possibility, I still think we got another 6 to 9 months left in us. What do you think of this chart here?
Yeah, I mean, dude, again, 42 IQ take from this, guys. The more liquidity that they have in the system, or AKA the more money they have to print, the more money they create out of thin air, the more it needs to find hard assets. Like the more money sloshing around in the system, the more eventually that hikes up assets. Bitcoin, in my opinion, is a hard asset. It's one of the best assets, but of course that will also increase, housing, gold, art, collectibles. All the good things in life are going to get more expensive because they are debasing your currency. And again, you got to remember, the kind of unspoken monetary policy that's being played out right now is it's the elephant in the room. Like they have to inflate their way out of this. Not just the US, all basically Western countries have enormous debts. Their interest rates on that debt is getting crazy. The only way they can get out of this is basically print their way out of this, debase their payments. So like, hey, really simple. If you owe $1 and or let's do like the math. If you owe $100 and today that $100 can buy you whatever, a watch or something, I don't know, whatever, $100 of purchasing power, and then they debase that currency by 50%. Well, now you can basically pay off $150 of debt, because it just got destroyed. So your new debt would essentially be it's cheaper. I think I messed up that example, but your debt will be cheaper. Yeah, I think I nailed it, right? Your debt, if you just start to debase your currency, your debt obligations become cheaper on paper. That just means there's more money there's more money going around. But hey, Luke, will you go back to that chart? I do wonder, could you do not this? Yeah, one of these. Do they have US M2 versus Bitcoin? Because I saw some metrics, and actually you can see it. If you go back to that other one, that one is a little cleaner.
This one is super clean.
Yeah, this one you can see like the correlation is it's very, very similar. As the global liquidity M2 supply goes up, the Bitcoin price goes up. As it goes down, we have bear markets. As it goes up, bull markets, etc. And it's kind of falling along perfect. But here you can see at the very end, it is kind of breaking. And that's kind of what Dr. Jeff Ross was saying, is once you do get to a toppy, position in the market, Bitcoin will lead that for a little bit. So, hey, we'll see what happens. But I was seeing a couple of threads on Twitter. And it was saying, I know we all talk about the M2 global money supply as the leading indicator of what is going on. More liquidity in the system usually correlates to a higher Bitcoin price. Someone was saying that they think it's more closely related to just simply the US M2 growth. And they had a chart there. So I was wondering if there was a better correlation, but this one looks really clean. This one's like damn near identical.
And then typically all of the charts that I found, typically like the global monetary supply will expand before Bitcoin. Now, again, I'm not someone who believes that there's this like one-to-one lockstep correlation. Like there's a lot of charts you see flying around on Twitter saying, oh, the global money supply is like 14 days ahead of Bitcoin. I don't think the correlation is that close, but I think on like a 4-year time horizon, I think there's a pretty good correlation there between Bitcoin following global monetary expansion and also Bitcoin following what gold is doing. Because I think we covered for you guys earlier in the week, gold is breaking out to record highs. And again, we got a ton of data showing that when gold rallies, Bitcoin follows.
Yeah, let's go. Hey, gold bugs. Thanks for leading the hard money game, but we will take it from here. Gold's going crazy right now, guys. Like, I think it's almost out. I think it broke, what, 3,500 yesterday? It's almost going to break like 3,600. Analysts are saying it's going to go to like 4K. That is not a good sign of what's happening in the system. If that many people are piling into gold, what is it? This is, yeah, it's at like 35. It's almost at $3,600. That's literally the highest price for gold ever. This does not make you feel good. If you understand the correlation of gold with traditional financial system, the fact we're seeing gold rip this high, it's telling you something. There's something happening. Now, what that is we probably won't know, but we'll know pretty soon. We will know very soon what is going on, because when gold rips like this, it is telling you something about what is happening in the system. And look at that. Is this what I'm seeing? 2008. It's been ripping since 2000. Was 2008 the peak right there? I can't line it up.
This was the
last
peak.
peak.
Gold,
That's 2012.
But gold had like a 12-year correction, so to say.
Yeah, but it started peaking in 2008 right there, right? Is this what this line is saying?
Gold
No, the one right before, the peak right before.
Yeah.
No, the other way, left. Yeah, that one.
That's 2008. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So, yeah, we're seeing another spike here, guys. I don't know. I'm happy I'm in Bitcoin, and that's all I'm gonna say here. So,
I'm with you there.
Bitcoin's gonna catch up to the shiny rock soon. Anyways, we are gonna kind of continue the conversation about S-curve adoptions. I saw another interesting chart that's starting to make me feel bullish. I'm starting, and it has nothing to do with price. With no more chart buying, this is adoption levels of Bitcoin that is very interesting. So let's get into that.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
All right, sorry guys. I'm in the chat. I'm in the chat, boys. Yeah, you guys are cracking me up, man. I love the chat. You guys are funny. Okay, here we go. So as I was saying, I'm secretly a chart boy too. Everyone is. Hey, look, Moon Boy is not a derogatory statement. Okay, it's a way of life. All right. All right. So check out this chart, guys. I don't know if these numbers are correct. It is coming from crypto.com and World Bank and Global Macro Investor.
Ew.
Yeah, not the best source here to say the least, but it is an interesting thought experiment. So the tweet is Bitcoin adoption is growing faster than the internet did. And we've been talking about this for a long time, S-curve adoptions of technology and how they play out. But I do think this is a very interesting kind of perspective. Now, when I was looking at this, I don't know. I personally, I don't know where they're getting these numbers from, but it says where we are now in 2025, 1 billion quote unquote crypto users. So I'm guessing that is shitcoiners and Bitcoiners combined,
Yeah.
Which would be my guess. But if this is directionally correct, it shows that there is more people adopting Bitcoin, or rather Bitcoin and crypto is being adopted faster than the internet. And we saw the paradigm shift of what the internet has done for the world. Like, I fully believe we're never going back to a world without the internet. If whatever, a sun flare explodes everything and we're all wrecked, we will figure out how to get the internet back up, guys. Like, we're going to get the internet. We're going to have the internet with us forever. So here we are, and looking a little further, first billion users, apparently. I think this is inflated personally. But if this is directionally correct, then the global internet users is at a 1992 to 2006 level. So here it would be, I don't know where, like early 2000s. When was AIM a thing? I'm going to chat GPT. Do you guys remember AIM? That's where we are right now. Let me see. Instant AOL. Wow, I don't even remember what it is. Instant Messenger. You guys remember this? Am I just a boomer here? I'm such a boomer now. Let's see. I'm a boomer, dude. Okay. AOL launched AIM. Do you guys you young kids, you youngins out here? I'm freaking unk over here now. This is crazy. You youngins don't remember the clout and the vibe shift that happened on AIM. And this was launched in 1997. So early 2000s, especially among teens and college students, reaching more than 61 million users at its peak. Man, AOL, dude, that was such a vibe. That was such a time in my life, man. Throwback. I don't want to divert this, but early 2000s level adoption of Bitcoin, if you compare that to the internet, I think that directionally is correct. So I don't know about these numbers here. Oh, here, actually, you can see it. Yeah, 2001. Look at that. All right. So the top chart here is the timeline of the internet adoption from 92 to 2006. The bottom line is crypto, the growth rate of crypto adoption here. So they're saying that the levels we are right now, Bitcoin adoption, is at a 2001 level, and it's higher than it was for the internet. How much has our lives changed? Well, some of you guys, were barely born then, I'm guessing. But in the last 24 years, the internet has fundamentally shifted everything of our lives. And so I think the next 24 years, that's why I keep saying the next 16 years are going to be crazy in Bitcoin, because it's going to fundamentally transform everything about our lives. And you can see here, 2030, 4 billion crypto users. So 4x in adoption here in 5 years. I don't know. That sounds kind of bullish to me. Now, I do want to kind of add a little bit here, because I did see some great charts. Rivers killing it, guys. Low key, Rivers absolutely killing it here. What I've been saying to my friends and personal, my family and people that ask me in person, and I say it on the show, like, I think this is the safest time to be buying Bitcoin. It's very clearly the safest time to be buying. I would say you're still early. Hey, you're not like, super early in the adoption of the internet level, but you're still early in the adoption of Bitcoin in the grand scheme of things. Like, if you guys are old like me and you were on AIM, that's where you are. We didn't have AIM on our iPhones, now we just instant message everyone around the world. Now we're interconnected completely when it comes to the internet. But let's break this down. 20 months of business Bitcoin adoption, really showing that we are in this safest time to be buying Bitcoin. Anyone out there that's saying, it's still risky, it's too volatile, you really don't know what you're talking about. This is the safest time to be buying Bitcoin. So this is a comparison from January 2024 to August of 2025. The market cap of Bitcoin went from $815 billion to $2.24 trillion. Insane. The number of known business Bitcoin holdings, the number of Bitcoin held by businesses was 510,000 Bitcoin to 1.23 million Bitcoin. There was regulatory uncertainty where 22% of businesses had concerns over Bitcoin holdings. Now it's broad-based bipartisan support for Bitcoin at the federal and the state level in basically every jurisdiction. Accounting and tax clarity, 78% of businesses had concerns over holding Bitcoin for tax purposes. Now we are starting to see the SEC literally today dropped some new, press release about they're going to push through these new accounting rules. We're seeing bipartisan a push for the Clarity Act to get dropped in 2025. Institutional acceptance, this is like the biggest thing going on right now. The ETFs, the corporate treasuries, even Jamie Dimon has to kind of eat crow here and embrace Bitcoin. Some of the biggest companies in the world are embracing Bitcoin. We have countries around the world embracing Bitcoin. It's absolutely insane. So companies with Bitcoin holdings in January of 2024, global public companies 39, S&P 500 companies 1, Fortune 500 companies 2. As of last month, we have 158 public companies, 4 companies in the S&P 500, and 3 Fortune 500 companies. When you're going through it, it feels like things are happening very slowly. And now you're in hindsight, you can see these things are happening extremely fast. And I do want to end it. You guys yell at me about memes here. So here, you guys could read the meme. You guys could pause it, read the meme. But we have, Pomp tweeting this. Eventually, everyone understands Bitcoin. You are still early. The world is waking up to this Bitcoin thing, and it's doing a public perception of Bitcoin before 2024 and after 2024, which is very interesting when you connect these two kind of charts here. What you're seeing is like people just love winners, and Bitcoin's winning. And, you have everyone switching up from Jay Powell, Donald Trump, Larry Fink, Jamie Dimon, Mark Cuban, even Saylor himself. They are now all pro Bitcoin in some way, in some semblance of a way, are adopting Bitcoin, or rather embracing Bitcoin. So it's the safest time to be adopting Bitcoin. I do like the idea of Bitcoin being at a 2001 level of the internet adoption. We'll see what's happening, but it still feels early. This feels directionally right. Luke, what would you say about this? Well, first of all, do you think there's a billion quote unquote crypto users of crypto, I guess?
So I was trying to earn my keep in the background, Opti.
Okay.
I was doing some fact checking. I think it actually is directionally correct that we're at least close to 1 billion users of quote unquote crypto. Again, we know that there's somewhere around 50 to 100 million people who actually hold Bitcoin on chain in their own wallet. So I know that data is pretty accurate. It's not bad. Again, nobody has the real data because Bitcoin's pseudonymous. I don't think I said that word right. But if you've got about 50 to 100 million people holding Bitcoin on chain, maybe we've got about 200 to 300 million people holding Bitcoin through an exchange. And I've been looking at this data for a little while now. You can see as of June 2023, there's about 500 million quote unquote crypto owners. And I kind of cross-referenced this with a few different sources. And it looks as if maybe 1 billion is directionally correct to where we are right now. So I think if you run the maths, Opti, if you've got 1 billion users, there's about 8 billion people on the planet. That means we're somewhere around, that 10 to 15%
You said
adoption rate. What's that?
You said 8 billion? Did I hear that correctly?
8 billion people in the planet. If we've got nearly 1 billion users of crypto, we're at about
okay. Yeah, I was like, wait, dude, you're tripping. All right, I heard that wrong.
Not yet. It's not 2039 yet. But I think
Yeah.
if you extrapolate out these trends, and if you consider that Bitcoin is, it's a technology, and I think like the original chart that you started with, Opti, from BTC Archive, if you just extrapolate that forwards, Bitcoin's probably going to hit penetration in the mid 2030s, maybe late 2030s. And I think this is where a lot of these models start to get broken. Your power laws get broken, your diminishing returns get broken. And that's because it's an exponential asset and it's going to get adopted in an exponential curve. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've seen this play out before, right? And here we are. And this one, it's actually interesting. Look at this. If Bitcoin is being adopted faster than the internet, that's literally like a straight line upwards. I don't know. Sounds bullish. Sounds bullish to me. Sounds bullish to me. Also, before we move on, though, and Luke and I kind of just shoot the shit over what's going on in the price. Shouts out to everyone in the chat. I didn't realize everyone was also on AIM, and it's called AIM. It's not called AIM, bro. Like you must have been a Gen Xer. It was AIM to us kids. I was like, what 2001, 11, 10, 13, something like that when I was on it. Maybe a little older, but it was AIM. Apparently, everyone has memories of being on AIM as well. Man, we're all unk status, man. I know Luke's never been on AIM. He's a youngin. He's a zillennial over here. He's still a baby, but man, what a throwback. Everyone in the chat, we all lived the AIM era. Anyways, that's a totally different topic. Let's get into the culture, and we will chat about. It's been a minute since I had Luke on here, and I did do. I'm not going to name him directly, but you guys know who I'm talking about. I did an interview with another Australian, and you guys are diametrically opposed here, and we called it a Fudbuster episode. So we're just gonna chat about Bitcoin. We're gonna get a pulse on how bullish Luke is here. So you already know he's gonna say an even more bullish prediction than what was your last one? $7 billion per Bitcoin.
It's just the math, baby. It's just the math. Buy my trading course.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, bitcoinben.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, so it looks like there's some Zoomers in the chat that don't know what AIM is. That's crazy. But everyone else, we're seemingly all grew up at the same era. Dude, hold on. Sorry, Luke. You don't know what this is, but Skype. Have you ever heard of Skype?
I know that one.
Okay, all right. So we're not that old here. Okay, anyways. Man, wow, I'm having an unk flashback here of AIM days, man. That's crazy. All right, Luke, where should we take this? Where should we start from?
Fudbusters.
Yeah, I know. Which one do I want to start with? Let's start with paper Bitcoin summer. There's been the narrative right now of, hey, you know, there's been a lot of trolling on this idea of like, it wasn't paper Bitcoin summer, it was actually whale selling, which I think we have data for this. Was paper Bitcoin summer a bad meme? Is it happening? What's your thoughts on this?
So I think it's both. I think there's obviously people selling a lot of Bitcoin. I cover it on my channel nearly every day as well, and we cover it on Simply nearly every day. It is true that long-term holders have sold 1 million coins over the past 18 months. But I just think there's more than that. I just think what happened in 2022 is most likely to be happening again. Like in 2021 and 2022, what was the narrative? They said, okay, BlockFi and FTX, it is impossible that they would be rehypothecating Bitcoin. Come on, trust Sam Bankman-Fried. He's donating millions of dollars to the government. We see him photographed with the government all around the world. Did Sam Bankman-Fried have a meeting with Jerome Powell? I think he might have back in the day. Again, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Everybody was like, there is no way that the new whiz kid, Sam Bankman-Fried, would be doing anything sketchy at FTX. They're the largest exchange in the world. They've got a market cap of tens of billions of dollars. Guess what happened? Well, when the tide went out, we found out that he was not only swimming naked, but he had paper sold 80,000 Bitcoin. And I think what I'm seeing is that the people who are the biggest paper Bitcoin deniers, they're people who are trusting individuals. I think that's a good way to frame it. They're just very trusting. They trust a lot of the official narratives, and a lot of the previous narratives that they were wrong about, they've just conveniently swept that under the rug. So again, I'm not afraid of being called an idiot and looking like a conspiracy theorist for multiple years and being quote unquote wrong in the public for multiple years, and have that unpopular opinion. But I will voice it if I think it's true. And in 2021 and 2020, I was called a nutcase for saying that, you know, if you don't know where the yield is coming from, you are the yield. Don't trust Celsius, BlockFi, Sam Bankman-Fried. Again, I was called a nutcase for years. People were saying, look at my FTX gains, bro. I'm up by so much. Look at my Luna gains. Oh, my Luna gains are incredible. You're missing out. You Bitcoin maximalists, you're essentially what did they call me? A Neanderthal. You're a Neanderthal. You're scared of technology. You don't evolve. And again, I just think there were warning signs there. I think back in the day, I was screaming about the fact that Sam Bankman-Fried was trashing proof of work. He was saying Bitcoin's old tech, proof of stake's the future. And I just think the same red flags are evident today. I just don't trust Brian Armstrong or Larry Fink. Larry Fink has infamously said that markets don't like free markets. They trust totalitarianism more than free markets. Larry Fink has said Bitcoin's nothing but an index of money laundering. I just don't think, I just don't fully trust Larry Fink's come to Jesus 180 pivot over the past 18 months. I think he is still certainly capable of pulling the rug, or let's just say not being an individual who you should be trusting your Bitcoin with. And I've said this from day one. I just don't think we should be trusting Brian Armstrong, Larry Fink, BlackRock. I think there's enough, what do they say? Where there's smoke, there's fire. I think considering the fact BlackRock has, in their original ETF filing with Bitcoin, they've said, if there's hypothetically a hard fork, there's no obligation that we choose the most economic chain of Bitcoin. Red flag. Even in 2024, late 2024, BlackRock published this 3-minute, it was supposed to be this bullish advertisement of Bitcoin. And then in the very fine print of the video, BlackRock said, it was a caveat, and it said, disclaimer, there is no guarantee that Bitcoin's 21 million hard cap will stay that way forever. Again, red flag. Again, what else happened? Coinbase was the sole custodian for BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. All of the experts and the gurus, Eric Balchunas included, came out and said, do not trust the conspiracy theorists. BlackRock would never engage into anything shady. If there was ever a paper Bitcoin concern between Coinbase and BlackRock, there would be very clear signs of BlackRock moving away from Coinbase. What happened months later?
Yeah.
BlackRock said, you know what? We're actually going to divert some of our holdings away from Coinbase to a firm that is 15 times smaller than Coinbase. So again, I'm just seeing red flag, red flag, red flag here. And this is just weight in evidence. And I just feel like, again, I feel like the 2021 Bitcoin maximalist Neanderthal like I was 4 years ago. And all I'm saying is just do not trust Coinbase or BlackRock. The same narratives are around. BlackRock's the largest asset manager in the world. Coinbase is a $100 billion market cap company, if not tens of billions. Trust them. They're regulated. Well, guys, I don't know. I think I've seen this game before. They said the same thing about BlockFi and FTX. So I think
also Enron.
Yeah, Enron. Yeah. Just because something is big and regulated doesn't mean you should trust them. This is the history of money, guys. So again, I think there is truth to both sides. Yes, long-term holders have sold 1 million coins, but that doesn't mean that there is not paper Bitcoin games going on right now. It's very difficult to have proof of it is happening before it actually happens, but there is a lot of red flags here. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to stick to my unpopular opinions, and I'm going to continue to voice them because I think it's just dangerous to have Bitcoin on an exchange.
Well, 100%. I'd agree with this 100%, at least that last point. And hey, look, I am as skeptical as anyone else is. I just think it's a little early to be playing these dumb games, but I don't think it's above their morality to do that, just to put it lightly. Okay, next one. Luke, you and I have gone back and forth on the idea of Bitcoin on exchanges. I know you've been getting trolled on it on Twitter because, as we've seen, there's been hundreds of thousands of coins that have waken up that were dormant that are now hitting the exchanges. And so the main contention is you're like the Bitcoin on exchanges are going down. It's been at 2.3 million. It's lost. I forget what the number is, but like 600,000 plus coins. And then the other side is like, it's been at 2.3 million for as long as I've been in Bitcoin. The exchanges are never going to run out of Bitcoin. I know you've been in going back and forth Twitter threads on this. So who's right on this? What's the take here? I mean, I think at any price we'll see Bitcoin wake up and we'll hit the exchanges, though I do also see that exchanges are kind of getting withdrawn of Bitcoin, but I just don't believe that the exchanges will ever quote unquote run out of Bitcoin. I think there will always be a seller at whatever price. Yes, some prices will have less sellers. But what's your take on this? Is there new data for you? Or are you just digging your heels and like the exchanges are going to have 500 Bitcoin soon?
Yep. They're going to have 500 Bitcoin soon. I think the data is pretty clear on this. I think if you, by any chart you look at, the number of Bitcoin on spot exchanges or OTC exchanges is being drained. This is a 9-year chart of Bitcoin on OTC desks. It is down 70% since its 2021 peak, where we saw around 500,000 Bitcoin on OTC desks. There's 150,000 today. Let's move on to the OTC spot exchanges. This is down 35% since 2022. Again, that was only a 3-year chart. So let's zoom out. Bitcoin exchange balance. That's not my favorite chart. There's actually better charts that show like a 15-year history of Bitcoin on exchanges. But it's really straightforward. It baffles me that people say there is no supply suffocation. And the only people saying that right now, again, they're BlackRock and Coinbase trusters. They're people saying that.
Wait, BlackRock and Coinbase respecters.
Yeah. Literally, and again, I've gone back and forth on this topic with lots of people, and their logic is there is no supply suffocation because the Coinbase on Coinbase custody is technically still with Coinbase. So even though Coinbase is holding hundreds of thousands of coins for large public corporations and ETFs and a lot of entities who say they're not going to sell for 100 years, and entities who have proof of not selling for 5 years, the supply shock deniers will say you have to add all of the Bitcoin in Coinbase custody to the total Bitcoin on exchanges. And when you do that, there is still a clear trend of Bitcoin leaving exchanges for 5 years. It's not as dramatic and pronounced as the one that I showed, but there is still a clear downtrend over 5 years. And I just don't think that the Bitcoin held in, for example, Michael Saylor's treasury is just as liquid as the Bitcoin on a spot exchange of degens swapping it for crypto NFTs and stuff. So the only people saying that there is no supply shock, firstly, they're wrong because their own charts show that there is a gradual and admittedly more steady decrease in coins on exchanges over the past 3 years. But their assumptions are wildly wrong, in my opinion. I just don't think Coinbase custody Bitcoin is just as tradable as a Bitcoin on a spot exchange.
Yeah, that last point, I totally agree. And we know first from Saylor's perspective that is the case. If, you know, we know his coins are being held at Coinbase, but he's very public about the fact that he's never going to sell those coins. And so I would argue that you can't really keep that data as the, you know, the total coins on Coinbase, even if it is there. I get where they're coming from, but I do agree with you on that point. Also, I've seen the exchange chart, like the blue one. I've seen that chart all the time. But when you look at the zoomed out version, that one is a lot more convincing of your narrative of just how much coin has left the exchange. It's literally like barding. The exchange, the Bitcoin on exchanges is barding on that chart. From let's see, which one is this?
This is the most zoomed out data we're going to get. This is like literally 16 years of Bitcoin history of Bitcoin on exchanges. And if you draw a big fat red line here at 2020, I mean, to claim that there is no supply suffocation, come on. I mean, it's down by 1 million coins. 30% of the Bitcoin has left exchanges over the past 5 years. This is as clear as day. I think the one number that people get stuck on, because I have heard that narrative as well, Opti, that, oh, there's been 2.3 million Bitcoin on exchanges for years now. That's because there are multiple different estimates of how much Bitcoin there is on exchanges. This chart says it's 2.3, but there are other charts and data providers that say it's like 1.9, 2 million, 2.1. But I think if you just look at the aggregate of all of those data providers, the trend over the past 5 years, it's obvious. I mean, that smacks you in the face if you draw a line right here at 2020.
Yeah, I think that data right there is proving what you just said about Saylor's coin. Because, right, Saylor got in Bitcoin like 2020 in force. And he's basically bought 1 million coins himself. And so you can't actually say that, yeah, it's on Coinbase Prime custody, therefore it's on Coinbase Exchange. He ate all of that himself. That's basically just Saylor and taking it from the exchange portion or OTC portion and putting it in his own cold storage. So that is pretty interesting there. I think that chart does disprove that theory, like, very clearly.
And all I'm going to say is, like, a lot of the people who I've interacted with, who, again, I've got respect for, who say that there is no supply shock, you know, trust Coinbase, trust BlackRock, there is no paper Bitcoin. All I'm going to say is they're very trusting of our other narratives in, you know, the world that are very clearly incorrect. So I think if you just think from first principles, I wouldn't be trusting. Let's just say I'm just not trusting of narratives that have been proven to be wrong. Like, again, I wouldn't be living in the UK and Australia right now and saying, oh, I trust my government to reverse course and make my country safe and, you know, prosperous. I will just say that the supply shock deniers, people happily residing in the UK or Australia saying, I believe in democracy. My vote matters. I trust my government. So just some more anecdotal data there.
Hey, yo, chill. Hey, yo, chill. Okay. All right. Last one. And this one's a little more personal. I think you and I have chatted about this offline. I think the last time we chatted about this, the price did kind of dump. But is the bull run over? Have we double topped? What is your take on this? End the show with some bullish stuff here. The people want to know how we get to 7 billion per coin.
It's just math, baby. It's just math. So has Bitcoin topped already? I think there's a less than 5% chance that Bitcoin's topped. But again, I don't have the hubris to say that I know exactly where the price of Bitcoin is going, like some of the analysts who will try to deny that there's a paper Bitcoin attack. They will say, "Oh, you can't be trusted to read the data. I am the expert. Only I have a monopoly on the truth." Again, I get really worried when I see that rhetoric around any data. So again, has Bitcoin topped? I don't think so. My base case probably hasn't changed in probably at least 12 to 18 months. I think my base case is I believe that we're probably going to break diminishing returns this cycle. So I think there's a 50% chance we go above 250 in the next kind of 9 months. Who knows when that top's going to be? Is it going to be November? Is it going to be April 2026? I think there's data for both of those to be true. So I don't know where the top's going to be, but I think there's a good 50% chance that we are above 250. And I actually think right now it's more likely that Bitcoin tops above 500,000 than it has already topped. So that's kind of how I feel. I haven't really changed my opinions on price.
Let's go. Just to repeat, guys, Luke just said he thinks it's more likely we go above 500K per coin than we have double top. Yep. I don't know how much more bullish we can get than that. That's some bull sauce here. I like that. I had another question while you were talking, and
how about while you think of that question, Opti? How about you? How do you feel about the next 6 months? Have we topped?
No, hell no, not at all. This doesn't make sense to me. I don't think we topped at all. Yes, it's been a slow beginning of 2025, but I don't think we've topped. There are moments and times when we do kind of drop. You know, this morning, to be honest, like this drop back down from 112 to 110, I didn't flinch at all. But what was it, last week or was it Monday? I think it was Monday when we dropped to 108. I am not gonna lie. There's a part of me of like, man, dude, did we just get back into bear market territory? Like, sheesh. But no, I don't think it's over. I think it's just beginning. I think the real fun's gonna happen end of year. Again, historically, Bitcoin makes all of its moves in like what, 21 days or something like that. I forget what the number is, like 27 days. It's like 3-4 weeks. I don't know. Actually, I think it's like 12 days, right? Or something. I forget what it is. I haven't looked at those numbers, but yeah, I think Bitcoin's going to make all the moves it needs to in 3-4 weeks. But I do think it's going to probably continue into 2026. I'm trying to think of what question I had. It was a good question.
I think 200K by end of year is kind of pretty standard. I mean, what is it? October average returns 20%, November average returns 40%, and December's on average like a 5% return. If you actually look at the bull market numbers, it's even more crazy than that. So just if history repeats, we're at 200 by end of year.
Let's go. We'll wrap up there. I think that was bullish enough. If I remember my question, I'll ask you some other time. Anyways, Luke, it's always a pleasure having you on. You know, they're really, Nico's really, you know, playing with fire when he puts two super bull-tarded people on the show. We need someone to kind of reel us in here and there because, as everyone's saying, I'm their financial macro advisor now. So, guys, we're not financial advisors here. This is just entertainment. This is what we think. But yeah, don't gamble with your savings just because Luke and I are stupidly bullish. But anyways, Luke, thanks for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, wait. Almost forgot. Okay. All right, guys. Oh, I almost forgot. Okay. The last thing we're going to do is we got to give you some sats. So when you go into, when you sign up for Bitcoin Well, you go into the rewards here, hit the well points. You got a chance to win 1 million sats. So pull out your Lightning wallet. We are giving away free Bitcoin. I almost forgot today. Today's winner, drum roll please, is 601 sats. There you go. I'll leave this up on the screen for a little bit. Guys, we love you guys. I will be back tomorrow. Nico is literally in transit right now. He's going to be gone tomorrow. And actually, you're gonna be stuck with me for like the next week. Nico's gonna be MIA, so it's gonna be me. I'll be holding it down. So you already know we're gonna get extremely bull-tarded. We're gonna have a good time. Hopefully the price is pumping. It's gonna be fun, man. Anyways, on that note, peace out, guys. Have a good rest of your day. We will see you tomorrow.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.